So the story begins in a very small western town. It's a warm and humid night in the year 1836. In the saloon, our main character, Thomas Harrington, is seated with a shot glass of whiskey. He's known as the town drunk, and he's only 22 years old. As Thomas slams his shot glass on the bar counter, he asks Simon for another. Simon tells him that he's had enough and that he shouldn't be in the saloon all day, every day. Thomas angrily commands Simon to give him another drink, to which Simon obliges. As Thomas remains at the counter, he spots a girl he used to know. Her name is Rachel, and she is seated speaking with another man named Matt. Thomas drinks the shot and heads over to them. As Thomas reaches the table, he asks Rachel if he can buy her a drink, to which Rachel declines. Thomas keeps insisting to where Matt gets furious and confronts him. But out of nowhere, Thomas socks Matt across the face, sending him to the ground. As Thomas begins to celebrate, Matt suddenly gets up and punches him across the face, also sending him to the ground. Simon helps Thomas up on his feet and tells him that he needs to leave the bar. As Thomas exits, he yells at the saloon and heads down the sandy street. As he covers his face, he notices something. Something on top of the hill. He walks towards it and suddenly, it shoots up into the sky. Thomas is in shock and cannot move. Then, a flying saucer-shaped object races from under the clouds and almost hits Thomas. Thomas dives towards the ground with his arms behind his head, but he is frozen on the ground from pure fear and nervousness. Suddenly, he jumps up and heads towards the saloon. He screams out to the people that something almost hit him, something massive. Unfortunately, nobody believes him as they all laugh. He continues to persuade people to believe that something is out there, but still nobody believes him. Even Simon tells Thomas that he has to leave because he's sounding crazy. Thomas then has no choice and leaves. Once he steps outside, he glances at the hill where the light was. He arrives on the hill and doesn't see anything at first. He looks down at a grass patch and sees a landing print. He shouts out towards the town that he found evidence, but once he looks back, it's completely gone. Thomas rests on the ground, assuming that he's just drunk. So it's the next day, and Thomas walks into a grocery store. A middle-aged, heavy-set man named Arthur stands behind the counter. Arthur notices that Thomas is in the store very early. Thomas then requests for just a couple slices of bread. As Arthur turns around, Thomas glances back at the hill and again, spots the light but doesn't know how to react. As he pays for the bread, Arthur notices that Thomas just isn't right. He asks, but then Thomas replies that he's been seeing something flying over the town and nobody believes him. Arthur then apologetically tells him that it's probably because he's known as the town drunk. Thomas doesn't take any offense as he understands Arthur's point. As Thomas further explains what he saw, a man enters the grocery store and claims that Matt has gone missing. He also claims that he was never seen leaving the saloon. Thomas is frozen in shock as Arthur tells the man that he would tell him if he sees anything. As the man leaves, Thomas tells Arthur that he has to leave. As Thomas exits, a woman yells out to him that she can't find her daughter. Thomas is incredibly frightened now. He tells the woman that he'll tell her once he finds something out. Thomas has nowhere else to go but the saloon. He enters where Simon is the only one present. Simon tells Thomas that he's heard that people have been disappearing left and right, including Rachel. Thomas is in shock and tells Simon that this wouldn't be happening if people just believed him instead of laughing at him. Simon asks Thomas if he can really blame them. He then asks him if he would even believe himself. To which Thomas replies that he has a point and that he's let himself go after his parents died. Simon then tells Thomas that if you don't love yourself, nobody will. Not only that, you won't be good at loving anyone else. Loving starts with yourself. As Thomas attempts to reply, Simon is gone. Thomas yells out for Simon, but no answer. Thomas exits the saloon as dust races through the town, fogging up his view. The dusty wind is so powerful, it knocks him to the ground. As Thomas removes his arms from his face, a 10-foot alien-like creature hovers over him. He glances over at the saloon doors and sees another tall alien-like creature wandering. These alien-like creatures just stand still, looking around the town. Thomas is frozen, unable to comprehend what he is witnessing. Cut to later in the day. A group of travelers go through the desert, tired and desperate for food and water. Suddenly, they notice a town nearby that looks abandoned. Unknowingly, it's the same town that Thomas lived in. As two men jump out of their carriages, their names are Jesse and Damien. Jesse tells Damien that he doesn't think anything will be of use in the ghost town. Then Damien tells Jesse that they have to at least try. But then, they notice an object hovering over a hill. The same one Thomas saw.